No, I know. There needs to be a reference document for standards for decision making or process or this and that. I know it's complicated.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll catch up on it tomorrow in the working group. Hi, everybody. Sorry.
I'm just talking out of school about the other committees work that I'm doing.
Hey, everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, I see Terrence with a hand up, so go for it.
Yeah, no problem, Pedro. Just letting you know that we have quorum. I'm pulling up the agenda right now, and the only thing, and that may be my fault, if it's not on the agenda, is that we joined by Lawrence, Michaela, or Lloyd to just do another review on the budget stuff, but they also have some other emergencies that they're working on, so they may not show up because ours is pretty okay. But just be aware that that could come in at any time. And yeah, I've got the agenda coming up now. So you're good to go, Lucas.
Great. Welcome again. It's nice to see some friendly faces are back to meet us and discuss. I actually have this on my other screen as well, so I'll be reading it from there. It's a bit bigger. So the agenda today is quite, rich. So I think we should just dig in. And there was a reason why I preferred not to share my screen, because I think there's a lot of things that it's best if just Christian takes us through with the documents or something like that. So jumping right in, old business, we have developer advocate check-in. And also, if you could drop just a liner with on the chat with your role and your biases or your company that you're coming from, like that. I'm actually going to do that now.
Okay. I do not see any developer advocates that are here right now. What I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and link repo. You guys can see what they have been working on. And then I'll have one other update as well. And I'm going to see if I can get one of them to come in if you guys want to hear from them.
Yeah, it would
again,
be good if you
have
could.
One of them here right now.
If we could define some maybe a lead of the developer experience group, so that we make sure that we have a liaison that's always on the calls.
Yeah, typically Uday's available.
We'll talk with them about that.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Making notes.
I also have not had time to do the 2024 review, even though it's at the end of the list. But I do have the bug bounty framework, which I can share later.
Okay. Yeah, but maybe let's just focus on the next point on the agenda, which is the project incubation acceptance criteria, right? So I'm not sure if Christian, you could share your screen on this, or.
Yep. Let me
okay?
just get
Please.
the doc real fast.
Is my screen share not coming through?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. I've got it.
I was just thinking about who's driving and presenting or presenting the document itself. It's up to you.
I don't mind sharing. I'll move along with the conversation here. So
Yeah, let's I did have Nick, Moritz, and I think Sebastian reviewed the document quite extensively. So we could start with y'all's takes of it. Nick, I know you had some questions on it. If you want to walk me through questions that you had.
For my name, or
yeah,
I think that's. You say
yeah.
Nick? Okay.
I can say Henry.
I was like, so okay. So most of my feedback was I wanted to understand the structure of the document, so I just changed more like what do you call that? The the type of the heading 1, heading 2, just to understand that. So my first reaction was like, we are not talking about the incentives, the financial incentives in that. If I want to start a project, in this workflow, like, am I going to be paid? Like, is it variable? And so that would be that was the first thing I was expecting to see, more than the workflow. The workflow is like, it's fine. Like, it's a not classic one, but I agree with it. I have not a lot to say about it, but yeah. How do we like connect people that want to have new features on the Cardano ecosystem, and people that can develop them in a more efficient way? That was a bit my
So
main
that
feedback.
ties in with the budget items. So we do have some requirements, even though it's not mandated, that projects under Intersect, for them to receive funding, need to be within a certain life cycle category with the project life cycle. And then this document gives you the criteria of how you fall within those maturity statuses. And that's related to the incubation. Now, the other piece is we have that maintainer retainer in the Code Forest initiative, where we select community nominated projects. Outside of this incubation program for things that are under Intersect, we still need to come up with a framework to manage those projects, because we don't want to take them from it and leave the incubation as an optional process. So there is those things, but for sure there is a funding mechanism tied to this. If they're in the incubation, they can still apply for these programs, and there's a way to mitigate the financial risk. We just haven't gotten to the non-incubated projects for that process. So those are incorporated in all those consideration factors. Yeah, if that answers the question. Did you have any other pointers to go through? If not, we can move on to Moritz.
Yes, that's one. If I recall some, I will say it.
Okay. Moritz, I know you had a good read on it.
Yeah, for me, it was mostly just about clarity. So the first thing you just saw there was me not fully understanding that sentence easily.
Projects looking for support fall within the incubation, have a trajectory to move through each phase with the exception of archive unless the project fails to succeed. Yeah, archive means the project's dead. So theoretically, you can't succeed through phases. So we can remove that. It's just an add-on.
Well,
Or failing
remove or
projects.
just yeah, or revert it in some way, because otherwise it's like well, I just find it hard to read. But then English is a second language to me, so what do I know?
Okay. I think that
And
works.
the other point I raised was basically just like over specific numbers for numbers of builds when we don't even specify what a build exactly is, and test metrics at 90%. Well, my problem is that this stuff will just easily be gamed. So if you define project as X, then people need to have 5 projects, then they're just going to have 5 projects in that category.
Okay. What would be a better replacement in your mind?
Well, that's a good question, because that's like all these numbers that end up being potentially gamed easily, like also commit counts and whatnot. It's kind of hard, but that was like, do we even want to be like putting in these specific numbers if we know that people end up like, okay, I need 5, so I'm going to give you 5. But
would it be so? I guess this is a question for you too, Johnny. Do you think it would help to have the TSC specify more numerical metrics associated with the program?
Oh,
Or,
oh god, yeah. The prospect of gamification is a huge one, right? If you define exactly, but then again, if you create a black box and then people are given things based on something that can't be monitored or verified by anyone, then they lose trust in what's happening and start speculating as to what the standards are for things. So I can see both sides of the argument.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that middle ground, if possible. I just put suggestions on here to spark that conversation. Sebastian?
Yeah, hi guys. I read the document. I think it's in good shape to start as a guide. It's a really good document. My concern is how this will be, how the program will be funded. I'm seeing the budget that you shared with us, Christian. I think the items are. The question is, do we have enough funds to fund the program?
Well, the program's within the scope. All this does is it opens the door for people to apply to come under Intersect, and Intersect helps share the liability of the project, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee that projects get funding just because they're under Intersect. What it does mean is we help support build community and stuff like that. Like Hyperledger is a good example for how they operate. They got 13 core mature projects, and they put all their funding resources to those. But that's because those projects went through the 3-tier phase approach, and they have a bunch of sandbox projects which are still trying to prove their MVP, and they're just using the muscle of the LF to help build communities around that and mature the projects through that. Now, what we're trying to do is qualify projects within the growth and maturity phase that it opens up the door for them to be able to get potential TSC, OSC, or product committee funding, but it doesn't guarantee it. And from the open source committee perspective, if you're in the growth and mature phase, that could qualify you for the maintainer retention program and the code for us is the way that it's structured right now. So my idea for it was you got your Catalyst MVP and you needed a place to go to next. And that's where you could come to Intersect, utilize the resources here to grow the project. And then depending on whether it's an open source library or a product, there's 2 different paths. Open source libraries qualify for more funding, but if you're a product, we'll provide more networking and educational resources to build your business model that way. So there's different avenues associated with it, but the incubation program itself isn't explicitly tied to a funding mechanism. It's just an avenue to risk mitigate other funding mechanisms.
Okay, thanks.
If that provides clarity. Cindy?
I wanted to raise a quick my opinion on the earlier point. Having numbers, and the numbers can be, say, arbitrary. It has both sides, but I would be in favor of at least having some numbers there listed than not having it at all, because that gives some kind of quantification. And whether that is a right number or not, that time will tell. The projects that come in, the metrics, the data from that can justify whether that is a correct one or something need to be changed. So just like here, like 5 active builds and the code coverage, at least something to be there is a good starting point. It might not be the best number, but yeah, it's better to have something than not to specify at all. Just my opinion on that.
I agree. It needs to be somewhere in the middle. I don't want to gamify it, but you also still need some kind of standard. And maybe it's that's what we can use the Bitergia tooling for, is to find those specific metrics that we can track. I don't want anything to be vanity either, though. Nick?
Yeah, I was thinking like if you want to, like, you're proposing to incubate projects like from the community, and somehow, I was thinking you should provide kind of a framework in which you want project to be incubated, like a vision you have, like what kind of project you wanna incubate. So there's like a high level vision somehow in that you need to explain, and then people will say, okay, oh yeah, so they're gonna support that direction, so I will apply. So there is something like that, and then also customers, when they come and they want to understand what's going on, they have special needs. And so yeah, this dimension, as well, more than the process, like stage A, like BC, the decline phase, and this stuff. So how are you going to manage that? Are you going to constrain the
Well,
topics?
that's where it comes in, that whole incubation workflow, which is the door is open for anyone to submit a project, but it has to go through the OSC and the TSC to agree on the strategic values and then choose to incubate the project. So it's not like just because someone built an online gambling system doesn't mean it comes to Intersect and there's your proposition value for your membership.
And then I was thinking, so you have different kind of project, the one that are directly talking to end users or something, and one that are like lower, in the like lower levels, and then they have dependencies. They are like we're gonna have dependencies issue, like for example, okay, an example, Marlow. Okay, Marlow is in a special state, so they rely on many dependencies, and so if we are most of the time we are blocked by others. So I don't know if somehow we will have to manage that, like making the coordination better between this project as well. So yeah, that was this dimension as well. I had in mind.
Well, and that's what my proposal is. I'll get to you in a minute, Tex. But we did get so we have Emergo is our first like pilot test of this program where they have 2 projects they want to submit to Intersect. And I think it's a good low risk, high reward. Sorry, trying to get my terminology. Where we can run through this draft in coordination with the contributor ladder and then work out the kinks of it and then go to a full life status after we mold the policies according to our lessons learned.
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
I would what I would propose to the committee is we do a conditional approval on this, same as the contribution ladder, do a 60-day pilot test. And that way, before Q2 ends, we've worked out the kinks of this. And then when budget is here, we actually know what we're doing. And I've also drafted a framework for how we could do the maintainer retention and the Code for Us initiatives and mitigate the spending there associated with these, trying to tie it all conclusively.
So do you have any ideas of the the kind of projects you wanna incubate? Is it something that is gonna come later, or we have an idea now?
We have somewhat of an idea, but it mostly sits around like the core infrastructure and tooling type stuff. Open source projects like Mesh.js or Lucid, if they wish to come. I know Anastasia Labs also has a project they wouldn't to submit to us, but we do need to get more solidified, especially on like the product area, because that's a whole can of worms in and of itself, because you're associating yourself with a different kind of customer base there, I guess you could say. So we can. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't know if the document makes that clarification in a really solid way, right? This program is not for projects that are not related to core development, right? Because in general, people tend to understand, okay, I can access to the program just because I'm paying the membership of the Intersect membership, right? So maybe in the introduction of the document, that clarification should be made in a really strong way.
Yeah, it's just, I know it's not my place to decide it. So maybe we could do a draft of the mission of what the program is and come up to some common understanding with the TSC for what Intersect wants to incubate and what it does not, or try to exclude it that way. I just wanted to make sure the process is there. And I think the 2 Emergo projects fall in under the like open source tooling that people use, something like that. So I can make that my homework next week, is to come up with some proposition, and then maybe we just get a channel between the OSC, TSC, and work out what we want.
I think we're missing a committee in there, from what I'm hearing.
A
We need to
product.
get an understanding, of product and what they have in terms of research on this. Because if they are in their course of research, if they are doing a similar evaluation, we need to understand how they're doing that. Otherwise, we're working a separate workflow, and that's different from how other projects are getting into the review process altogether. So we need their review as well.
Okay.
Suggestion.
So I think the proposal, if we're okay with it, I think the proposal is we put a conditional approval on this, similar to the contribution ladder. Pending, we need a mission statement, but we can start with the 2 Emergo projects just to go through the process. Is everyone okay with that? Just want to make sure I get the votes in, that we're okay to do that as action item. Okay. Then I will work out the process of that and then draft a quick mission statement, and then we can feel free to tear it up and then pass it on to the OS or TSC with the incubation criteria for their input as well.
Just clarifying, Sebastian, did you give a thumbs up to that as well? You're on mute there. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay. Now, Lucas, I did confirm Lawrence is going to join in at the 30-minute mark to go over the budget stuff. So.
Okay, great stuff. So moving on, we have some items there that are actually not going to happen. So like Christian was saying just before, the 2024 review is going to be happening later, not today. And also we had a point for code of conduct where Adam isn't able to attend today. So we're going to be going over it in a future session as well. So that leaves us with builder engagement, which sort of relates with the other 2. And again, I will be passing the floor to Christian.
Yes. So the builder engagement, that was related to the budget ask. So as everyone knows, budget's like the big thing on Twitter at the moment. So what I was asked was like the commercial engagement folks, and I think Lloyd too, there's a TSC focuses a lot on like the core suppliers, and then there's an RFP process, but the ask was for service providers that don't necessarily fall in under that, is there funding opportunities for them or builders in Cardano? And that's where this conversation came up, if there needs to be a line item, because and I think sentiment, at least from Adam Dean, is they can still apply to TSC because there's a little bit like budget cushion that may apply. It depends on DREP evaluation, etc. But I don't know if there's something that needs to be under OSC for that. Because currently we're more focused on supporting open source libraries, the maintainers themselves, and education and developer stuff. But I don't know if it's our remit to fund tooling development. In my personal opinion, I feel like that should be part of product, but they're solely focused on research this year. So
I'll be sharing this link on chat. Okay, Christian?
Yep. This is what Lawrence is going to run through as well.
Okay.
Just to speak from the TSC side, there's one line item that's non-roadmap development on the draft budget there. And it says community proposed development items that did not directly align with one of the product committee priority areas. These will be identified and managed in the same manner as the roadmap development proposals, but enables projects to demonstrate community need or benefit that relate to the core development. Core development to have a route for funding. So it falls under core that might not have been considered rather than external to core. So that line item might not apply to this specific request.
This one, Johnny?
Yeah, I was trying to find one that fit to the remit that was requested there, and that was the closest one, non-roadmap, because it wouldn't be one that was already defined or broken out. But since it says core there, that might contradict that.
Tex, is it okay if I share screen for a second? Yeah, I just wanted to clarify the changes I made to this. So the thing that I had to run through outside of that was with the budget, based on what we put together, they're requiring a description. I matched what the TSC had, Johnny, and then a return on investment. That way it kind of cleared up the language and it's showing you like what pillars come out of these funding initiatives. But the thing we haven't really gotten into was when the money is expected to be spent if we get the budget allocation. I put tentative figures in here, not to be taken serious fully, but like if we get the maintainer retention program, it starts in June and it goes till December. I just broke it up evenly across the months. And then the code forest we get up front because I still don't know how we're plotting that out, but we needed some ideas for that so the budget committee knows how to plan the budget allocations accordingly.
Yeah, this year's quite difficult because you've got that upfront half a year of like the remaining statement of work contract for ongoing maintenance that is funded elsewhere, but may be a loan, may not be a loan, depending on and whether or not it needs to be paid back out of the budget for this year or not. It's a lot of up in the air stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is I think there's confusion on the numbers too. So I think this was a question, Nick, you had where the ADA price budget committee's fixing that. I'll let Lawrence fully clarify it, but they did a 3 price spot evaluation at 0.3, 0.9, and 1.17 with USD conversion. And I think you only get the one figure and then you have to work with it based on the ADA price fluctuation. I think that's going to be across the board.
I think there's a 0.65 in there too, wasn't there? Or no?
Yeah.
On this specific spreadsheet we're looking at right now, all of the rates of USD for ADA are actually taken from the documentation tab, which is locked at the moment, and it's fixed to 30 cents. So anything you're seeing on this sheet is based on a 30-cent valuation of ADA, which may inflate the number for what's actually requested, depending on which one is chosen from the tiers, as you said.
Yeah, this is definitely October pricing. For sure.
Yeah, and because that tab is locked, I don't know who has access to change the valuation, right?
It's gonna be Lawrence and his team.
So it'll probably be updated to reduce the amount of ADA requested based on recent movement, but still have a buffer.
Just wanted to give you a 1-minute warning for the time where Lawrence is supposed to join. So I'm not sure if there's anything you want to.
Oh, he'll want to.
Yeah, well, I can stop presenting, but it came back to that. I don't think we add a line item for tooling to support building tools for providers. Yay or nay?
Thanks.
Yeah, since we're kind of breaking or pausing for a moment, I wanted to recycle this. There has been some encouragement, or rather a request, as you all have availability, please do join in the AMAs. And I mean, if you're not, I guess the one thing is join the AMAs so that you can get an understanding and learn and try to see where some of the different sentiment is coming through. Obviously, more of it's going to come through on X and other places, but some people are going to come up and ask those questions in those sessions. And so it's good for y'all to hear that. I do my best to attend every session. There's one later today. I think that's at 8 or 9 UTC PM. But the other thing is too, is that they have requested that the committee members are attending these AMAs, because if somebody comes in and they have a question specific to a committee level budget, there is an expectation that you as a committee member should be able to speak to that item. So that's not applying any undue pressure. If you don't feel confident about an item, let us know, and we can make sure that there's a streamlined understanding. But for those of you that do know, if you can make an effort to be there in case there are any questions, even if it's not important this week, as everything does roll out when Intersect does make their official release of it, I'm sure there will be more questions and probably more of those AMA sessions that may even go back focus to the different committee ones, and I'll let y'all know. But again, there's still a request. Join as many as you can, just so that we are there and showing that presence.
Just
where can we find the times and the dates of the AMAs?
I'm trying to find a way to get them on the Cardano calendar, but the best thing to do is the lu.ma/Cardano budget process. So that's their Luma
Okay.
calendar. Put that in right now.
Thanks.
I'll just raise a point. I only, as a committee member on both TSC and OSC, was only given access to this draft budget proposal sheet yesterday during a TSC meeting after requesting it explicitly. And I still only have comment access and can't open anything that has a sub list. So like core maintenance in technical steering has a plus that I can't press. So in order for me to be a source of knowledge or confirmation of things, I actually need to see the things to be able to do that. And only yesterday I was given that access. I've also been, for the time being, taken out of Slack channels because of not having a pro license, and there's a potential that I'll get a user license to be able to see what's going on within the committee chats and be up to speed on what answering questions that come in something like an AMA. But if I'm not privy to the information, I can't be a source of the information.
Yeah, I'm with
Understood.
you on that one. Definitely, there's some fallbacks there, especially this stock. They're trying to keep it held back and not share it until committees submitted and finalize their budgets, and then. Yeah.
But they're also saying we need to be there to be able to answer questions that come directly from things like this document. I can't live in both worlds.
Yeah, I understand. Hard place in a rock, for sure. Hopefully we actually streamline this. But at least for our sheet, I think OSC 2, at least from even seeing the public response to the leaks, because our figures have stayed roughly the same anyway. There's not much concern. So I feel like it's easy to speak to, and I already did an explainer video way back when of what the ideas were. So
I saw you reply directly to that, because the narrative that was put forward by the Charlie Hoskinson parody account was very scathing and misrepresentative of the actual content of each of the things that are being presented or requested as part of the budget. Just from my own experience and discussions, only seeing this document yesterday doesn't mean I didn't have other insight to the process. So, yeah, it was good that you were able to show a 4-month ago video in response to the narrative that was put out there. It does sort of go to the idea that it would have been best to build this in public and share information throughout the process in public so that narratives couldn't just be thrown on top of partially revealed information. And it would have been great if we could have got community feedback live throughout the process, so we could have tweaked it rather than having this hold all the release of information up to a point just before we need approval for a budget, so that people can then throw all of their arguments and complaints at us in one go. It would have been nice to spread out the arguments and complaints and tweak in response to them.
Yeah, completely agree. Well, and our sessions are open anyway. If you hate it, yeah.
I love that we have videos of the open source committee all available. I also dislike that people don't watch them. You can only do so much transparency, and you need to. You can create the water for the horse to go to, but if it won't even go and you can't even lead it, then what are you going to do?
Well, tell me what mediums we're missing. We got Twitter, we got LinkedIn, we got YouTube, Discord. I can start a Blue Sky account.
The open source committee's been brilliant for this, but in terms of the actual figures and data and out there publications, our meetings, yes, brilliant. I love that they're available, but people don't watch the meeting YouTube videos.
I would have done it differently. Anyway, I pinged Lawrence and texted him. Hopefully he joins. If not, I can just to clarify and bring that last item to conclusion. We don't want to add any new line items to our budget at this point, right? Or do we? I'm kind of at least for 6 months.
Yeah.
Right, I interrupted.
No, I was just answering. I don't think so, but it's just my thought.
Yeah, for me, since it's a 6-month budget, I figure we can keep it this close knit and then expand in the new year once we've proven the credibility of us managing that budget and the different initiatives. And then we can do those opportunities, maybe have more additions. So I'll just put it to a quick vote to confirm the budget is final, I guess.
Yes, I have a question respect to the item developer advocate program. In that item is mentioned North America, Africa, India, and Vietnam during the whole 2024, 2025, right? And my question is, okay, how this program can be expanded to other regions different to those? Could we increase a little bit at least the budget to
The expansion right now is budget dependent, and it's really going to spur based off of the working group and them actually getting that up and running. So I know that they have not set a first meeting yet. When I meet with them tomorrow, that's going to be probably my number one critique, is that they need to have at least one meeting established by the end of the month, because they do have requirements where they need to bring in other developers. And so essentially our applicant pool for the next set of developer advocates would come directly out of the developer experience working group in theory. And Christian can, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong here, but at least my vision for this program is that the current developer advocates would run through the end of 2025. As far as 2026, we would have the same thing on the budget and possibly an extension there of it. But I think a team of 4 is pretty good to manage it. And I want to give other developers the opportunity to grow and build a program from where it is. So there may be a slight bit of a learning curve to catch them up to everything that the current developer advocates have done. Maybe we'll look at a little bit of an overflow, but that's realistically a conversation for September or October of this year. Not so much one that we need to pay attention to right now, I would say. But yes, there is a goal for expansion, but expansion right now is really going to be, can we stay at this lower budget number and replace giving everybody and pushing the work group.
To clarify, they're not geo-specific. I just mentioned that because that's where they live. So they can serve any region. And I'm open to expand it. It's just the budget. That's how much it costs to keep the current 4 people for 2025. So if we want to expand it, by all means. Right now, at least for the first 6 months of this year, it's an OSO thing, but it becomes an OSC thing for the last 6 months. So we can tailor and do that program however y'all want. It's just with the Intersect budget, they push that to a committee cost, I believe. So completely open to ideas on that. Lucas?
Guys, just moving on. While we wait for Lawrence, I wanted to encourage you guys to keep an eye on our Discord. We have, let me just share my screen even. So I know that we all have our weapons of choice and our tools that we daily check in or not. But I would, this works a lot better if we can put in some work asynchronously, not just on the calls. And so I'm sure everyone is in the Intersect MBO server. You can scroll all the way down and then a bit up. So we have this section here, open source committee. I just want to make sure we're all like, if you are tagged with the role, you should be showing here so you can find our peers. You can DM people if you need. So I just really want to make sure that we are all on the same page. In terms of, for example, especially on the internal channel, Christian was just sharing this here before or yesterday. We could have a look at things before coming to the calls. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir maybe, but let me know if any of this is new or if you need any help to navigate this. I'm also quite available. So yeah, just wanted to put in a word for that. Okay.
I'll respond to that. It's not new to me. I know that channel exists, but I know that previously we were all in the Slack channel, like I said earlier in this call, and I was able to easily and quickly respond to Slack notifications because Discord is discordant as per its namesake, and it's very difficult to keep track of notifications that come from specific things.
That's why I'm trying to focus on this one, and I wanted to. I'm actually going to get all your handles. If I can't tag at open source, so we have this role, open source committee. If I can't tag the role, I'm going to start tagging each of you extensively. to make sure that you actually have a notification on your a bit more
No, but
like
my problem is
higher level.
notification. My problem is notification fatigue from Discord specifically, multiple channels, various things.
Yeah.
And Slack was perfect because Slack has so less volume of traffic that it was much easier to work with previously. This has been brought up as a new channel in response to the fact that I and others perhaps have dropped off and having user licenses in Slack, and there was a decision made to open up a new channel in Discord, which I disagree with.
Well, yeah, but still,
I know, but
I'm not just talking about this one. I'm talking about this one where we articulate with the community.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the announcements there, the working groups, everything. This one is the place where you should keep an eye on still. Okay, Johnny. For the notifications, the most I can tell is that I'm also juggling a number of things, and I do have like different scopes of things where I keep a look at. And so this this little folder here, everything needs to be cleared because it's the ones I work in. Right, and so that's what by tagging you, that's what I mean to you're gonna get the red thing on this one. That's the most I can do.
But I just wanted to officially record that it was better before.
Sure, sure. Tex probably has something to add on that. I'm not sure.
Well, and it's on me too. I promised to create the open source committee channel in Slack as an open channel, so anyone can join and not keep it locked. I don't think there's conflict there. I can do that if we still want to. That way you still have a Slack option.
Well, the problem is we have two places now, and then you'd have to cross-post across both of them in order to maintain. I don't know what's going to happen with this.
So there's a couple of things here. So Lawrence specifically is trying to push all communications to Discord that involve the community in any way. I understand when it comes to things like TSC or security that's causing some other issues. So we're going to work through that as need be. In that reality, no disrespect to your point there, Johnny, I absolutely understand it, and I would prefer to work in a platform similar to Slack or like Slack for communications if we could. And that's something I'm continuing to explore throughout the year. But again, Discord was the push of what I heard, and when Lawrence was like, well, why are we getting a complaint about Slack? Everyone should be in Discord. I'm trying to manage everyone's expectations. So stakeholder expectations, and then y'all are also stakeholders, and I'm not going to say it's at different levels. I kind of consider y'all on the same level. It's a very same level of concern. But
I do hear you, but expectation management, an expectation was something that I already had with a workflow that I was already used to, and then it got rug pulled from my perspective. And then now we're being told that we have to do a thing that we didn't have to do before, and you change the expectations. Also, this link that's been highlighted in the OSC internal channel, I've just clicked on it, and I don't have access to it, so I'm just requesting access now. So even if I had tried to prepare yesterday, I would have had to put through a request, and I don't know if it would have been responded to by the time of this meeting.
Sure. It was just an overall guidance. Thanks.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add one last thing to that, which is I understand what you're saying there, Johnny, and I take that as feedback because you did raise that as an issue immediately when you joined, and I believe Lucas the same thing. I'll circle back though on one other thing. I don't want to abandon this topic, but I did want to see as far as the feedback that we did see from the leaks. Did anyone have a different idea for the Summer of Code thing, or do we want to stick with that same terminology there? I don't think there's an issue with this kind of copying that format and calling it an equivalent, but they seemed as if they wanted that to have a different name. And if somebody had a suggestion, it just might be something we can fix before everything goes out.
When you say they, who do you mean?
Well, the parody account called it out. That was probably the thing they were the most scathing on when it came to OSC. Is just,
are you saying we should react specifically to a parody account's narrative structure to change the name of a thing that we've been working on? Is that the question?
No, I'm just saying that was an OSC suggested item, and it was put on there with the I don't want to say the little bits of information. Obviously, there's some understanding behind it, but we didn't give a lot of thought. We just added it to the budget. So if anybody had given any additional thought and wanted to call it anything different, we have that opportunity. If it's best to just be called the Summer of Code equivalent, then we'll leave it as it is. I'm not saying we have to change it. I'm just asking if anybody had an idea on it.
I know, but the reason I'm pushing back here is because like the amount of narrative that came that was very scathing and misrepresentative of a whole process from that whole thread, giving, I don't know, it wasn't in good faith in my opinion.
Understood.
I'm treating it as having been in good faith whenever it was very mocking throughout may not be the best course of action, because I don't know if that parody account represents community sentiment. I think is my argument. But this will go up on YouTube. Someone can clip it and see that I'm against the parody account. But hey, who cares? Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I was maybe looking around for like on Discord and all, but on the parody account topic, my only view is we should really, and that's why I was just reaching out for you to engage with people on Discord and with other members, especially because if people are on Twitter and they're not even MBO members, we can't even invite them officially to these calls. It's like for the committee and MBO members. As long as anyone's in the MBO, and I would argue anyone can, because there's the barrier is very small. Here is the place where they should come and discuss, you know. So I'm not very keen to explain myself out there. Yeah, cheers. Sorry, Christian.
I'm muted, aren't I? Yep. I just wanted to share. So I drafted a bug bounty framework because we kind of need to figure out where it's coming. We will have a budget for it. Jack actually is in favor of Intersect launching something ahead of time, and we can figure out budget related to bug rewards, but then apply the 300 once it gets approved, because I don't think anyone's against that in our budget. So I did. Go ahead.
I've clicked on your link in the OSC internal Discord. I once again don't have access. I've requested it. I'll look at it when I can see it. Thank you.
Which email are you using, Johnny?
Intertreecryptoconsultants@gmail.com, and every time I click a link, it just says request access and give your reason why. So I don't know if I've just been excluded from the list of available to. There you go. You've granted access. Thank you very much. Live response and support.
Yeah, no, I'll get it to you. I've been adding you to a lot of docs, but it keeps bouncing. Like Sebastian, I'm having issues with on that too. So it's not just you. I'm trying to make sure.
I know that I'm one of the only ones who dropped having a pro account because I was on a trial. I raised it at the beginning of the trial period that this will be an issue in a number of months. I was told it won't be an issue, and now we're here. But yeah,
I tried with a different email, and that worked. I used a different email.
Yeah,
it works.
So I'll make sure I'm trying to share docs explicitly with y'all's emails, so forgive me if I miss one. I will grant access when I see it come through.
It's okay. I'm just reacting to being told that I should be better prepared for a meeting the day before and reading a link that I can't actually read.
It's okay. I strategically do it to put you on the spot.
No, it's just my point was also because we meet only every other week, you know, from like every 2 days, every 3 days, if you have a look at it, there should be notifications, the updates, at least. Christian, a bit concerned we don't have Lawrence.
He completely forgot. He's about to join here in a minute. I just wanted to close out high-level introductory to the bug bounty. I came up with a rough framework where we have a 3-tier governance model where we tie in the Security Council. I don't know where the TSC would be jumped in this. I need some ideas on that. But I also figured the open source committee kind of serves as providing the oversight and execution authority with the budget. Open source office manages the allocation, and we work with delivery assurance to make sure that rewards are paid out. But the Security Council validates the reports that come in, and I don't know where TSC sits. So that's kind of where that comes in. And then there's some ideas for how structured rewards and reporting process comes in, and then there's a whole table of contents. Feel free to eat this alive. I'm not an expert. I just put initial thoughts. So don't hate me. Just wanted to introduce that.
Man, you put in so much work in all of these documents. Like we're just a committee voting and discussing and tearing it apart. And you could argue that I don't comment enough on these documents. Absolutely. So like, don't worry, you're not going to be ripped apart.
Oh, it's all, I know I'm not accounting for certain factors, and that kind of affects everything else. Because this is also in review with the Security Council at the same time, so do expect that interaction as well.
Risking the answer that it's on Discord or something, do you have a link for that, for the framework?
Yes, I put it on Discord, I think, and
It's in the
the
OSC channel. That's why I reacted to not having access.
Yeah.
I have it now, and others may need to request if they don't. But it's on OSC internal Discord.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
I'm dropping the invite link to Lawrence, so he should be here in a second.
It was the last one. Now I see it. Sorry.
Yeah. I do have other documents. I'm just trying to do them one at a time. So sorry, I'm making this book reading club.
No, again, if I can ever be useful in compiling, what I'm trying to do is by publishing the meeting notes or the meeting topics in advance, is really to gather topics so that we can prepare. So if documents aren't available or something like that, or if they're too scarce, too scattered, I mean, let me know and I'll try to gather things. Thanks.
I just wanted to ask real quick if anybody had been able to, I know there were some comments. Is anyone going to be able to further draft out a document review process so that we have that as something we can list out or show or reference to?
Yeah, I know that in the last meeting I was tasked with coming up with building something of that, and I have to fully throw my hands up and say I got embroiled in various meetings about definitions that went 5-6 hours at times over the last while, and then also have been assigned 4 things to do in terms of prioritization for the TSC. And also had to do this work. The thing I was working from was a discussion in the last meeting that I then screenshotted in the chat after trying to summarize it, which I did post in the OSC internal Discord, funnily enough, a screenshot. So that's as far as I had gotten with it. And then someone else did, thank you very much, whoever did, took up the work and started actually trying to pan that out. There is a document that exists that does start going down that workflow. I didn't have any input to it, and I apologize.
I will try to circle back to it if I have time to try to put some more content in there, but I really wanted that to be a committee created document because it not only serves as the expectations that y'all would agree to for document review, but the expectations you would have of future elected committee members as well. So I wanted to leave that specifically for committee input there. That's the only reason why I push it in this direction. So
my only concern is having, from my own perspective, given that task to do that based on a conversation and then formalizing a process. We should have maybe had a separate breakout meeting or more of a discussion in the OSC internal chat to actually come up with the standard, as opposed to me trying to come up with one. But again, I didn't do it, so I take full responsibility for having not.
well, there's not a set deadline on it, but we can set up a meeting like that for next week if that's what everyone wants to do, or again, if you and or somebody else, I don't want to label all this to a single individual contributor from the committee because that takes away from the definition. So I'm not going to shun away from you taking responsibility, but I do want to encourage the other committee members as well. Participation.
Well, I, for one, would be happy to meet in some other breakout meeting specific to this task. If anybody wants to go ahead with that, we can arrange it in the OSC internal Discord channel and come up with an event and actually discuss it.
I think doing a call next week wouldn't be a bad idea at the same time to work on the process. That is, no?
I think I just moved our sync meeting there, but we can expand that or whichever. Next week I have a conflict on Tuesday, so
yeah.
but I set it for 2:30. So we can flex things around, or I'm happy to work with other time zones as well, or other times in the day. So maybe we're going to do something earlier where it's like 11 or noon.
Yeah, maybe do the sync earlier, and we would invite members and seats from here to join. Would that be
Well,
okay,
I can't
guys?
put the sync earlier because of Adam.
Okay, maybe later then.
So, well, yeah, I could do that. Let me do that. I'll move that later, and then I'll set a off cycle for next week. Then
Can I get some availability from anyone to come at the same time next week, or
Same time next week. That should be fine.
to work on on this process?
Yeah. Let's see next week.
Great stuff. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll put it in calendar.
Okay. Thank you. So, I don't see Lawrence still.
Yeah, let's just proceed as though he's not.
Is it?
If everyone's willing to, I do have also the framework for the Possum. I'm calling it Possum now, paid open source model for how maintainer, retainer, and the code for us works. I think I got it to 17 pages. Forgive me. I'm trying to keep it under 20 pages for these frameworks, but enough detail that it's clear. I can share that too. I just don't want to burden overload, and it doesn't take effect for 6 months anyway. So it's just kind of ahead of. But I can share that document with everyone. Johnny?
Having been in a meeting with Lawrence yesterday in the TSC and him going over the specific tab that's related to the budget for TSC, I can give you a sort of overview of the kind of feedback he's going to give. He's going to say something along the lines of every single line you have in the OSC budgetary sheet needs to be justifiable against a DREP group of people giving feedback, because they're going to be the final deciders on which budgets get approved. You need to be able to defend every line of your budget explicitly. And he was saying yesterday in the TSC meeting that includes breaking out things and doing like subdivisions of how much each large amount for a single line item breaks down into individual things. That's more applicable to TSC because there's so many different aspects of core maintenance that they need to be allocated specific amounts based on their priority, and then that needs to be communicated that there is a priority and a roadmap. On the OSC side, I think that might be less needed, because I think the line items themselves might not have as much of a breakout. They just have standards for how the money will be distributed, which have been written. So I think the OSC might be better prepared on that from my own perspective. So Lawrence is very much talking from the position of you need to defend your budget to a DREP group. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, sounds about right. That's why I went through and redid it based on what the TSC had for the descriptions and ROI. I think everyone's comfortable with it. The only thing I put best guess on the spend per month, but like we're saying, most of the programs minus developer advocate start in June, and it's like the bug bounty just sits there and doesn't get utilized, or it does. So
and then it's questions that might come up is what happens if that bug bounty doesn't get used at the end of the year, which was brought up in a previous meeting with Adam and others discussing what could happen. Does it roll over? Does it go back to the treasury? And different opinions happened there in the committee. So an answer for DREPs who might ask that question, what happens if? And of course, that party account was very flippant about that. Bugs need to remain profitable was the way they put it. So again, I don't really like their feedback.
Yeah. Well, and Lucas.
So sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm personally I'll follow whatever I'm told. I just need a decision made on that. So for sure.
Yeah, and the decision will probably ultimately come from the DREPs, which is the model, really, isn't it? There's a specific argument. Oh, sorry.
Tex, can you mute?
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Pedro, I stepped over you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just highlighting we're at time for today, but there is the commercialization working group call later, like in 1 hour from now. starting. So I'll drop a link on Discord if you don't mind. And if you want to join, please.
Sadly, there's also the SPO meeting at the same time, so I'll be
Okay.
at the SPO meeting.
Okay. It's just that it is a working group from the OSC, and it's one of the most relevant ones because it's not that active. That's why I'm challenging you to come over and get to know
Yeah.
it. But where a lot of things in Intersect are about promoting Intersect or promoting Cardano as a business to business. Here in the commercialization, we're a bit more focused even on the builders in Cardano and to support those, which is a lot aligned with the mission of the broader OSC. So please come by if you can and get to know what we're up to.
Yeah, I'm trying to, just to clarify too, you do have the marketing working group, but they're focused on different initiatives. I'm trying to make this like that go-to channel for our enterprise clients that they can network and get business. So, and kind of an accelerator program that way. That way you're separating the two audiences, but they have similar missions.
I'll say again, apologies. I won't be able to make it. The SPO meeting is in direct conflict, and the SPO meeting is going into a new method of doing monitoring with a separate service that's going to break out from the built-in Cardano node, and it's going to change everyone's methodology for actually monitoring and alerts on their nodes, which means I need to learn more about it as a service provider for people who do SPO infrastructure. So sorry.
Yep, we need SPOs.
No worries.
Okay, guys. Anything else for today?
I'll share the Possum framework. And so if you need more documentation because you're bored, let me know.
Thank you so much. See you soon. All the best. Take care.